Hello, and how are you? Welcome to my session on gender mainstreaming concepts. If you're new here, my name is Winnie Barawa, and this is a channel which focuses on lectures, lessons, and interviews pertaining to healthcare. And if this is your area of interest, kindly remember to subscribe and click on the notification button so that you can be notified when we post our next class. So if you've been following in our gender and speciality or sexuality playlist, we've been posting several lectures on gender development and its impact on healthcare. And on this lecture, we are going to focus more on gender mainstreaming, its significance, tools, steps, and the best practices that one can do on gender mainstreaming. So in this class, we want to focus more on the basic concepts that you should know as you plan to participate in any gender mainstreaming activity. So stick with me all the way to the end. All right, so let's start from the beginning. When we do gender and development, we have basic concepts in development that rotate around gender equality, gender equity, gender awareness, and even gender responsiveness. So when you're looking at gender mainstreaming has been adopted basically as a strategy to help us realize gender equality. Here, by gender equality, we mean a state whereby the needs and key areas of both men and women are put into consideration. So gender mainstreaming, in short, is a strategy, and thus, by definition, we shall say gender mainstreaming involves the integration of gender perspectives into preparation, design, implementation, monitoring, and evaluation when it comes to project policies, measures, and even spending programs with the view of promoting equality between men and women and combating the biggest elephant, that is gender discrimination. So with gender mainstreaming, basically you can say that the main focus is number one, to eliminate gender discrimination, but also gender mainstreaming involves integration of the gender perspective or the gender aspect into the different stages of project development. And in these different stages could be at the design level, we are talking about preparation of the project, implementation level, and the monitoring and evaluation level. So what can we input gender aspects into? It can be at policies, it can be at regulation measures. You can also do it at aspects of project expenditures or budgeting and planning that will promote equity among men and women. So that's the main agenda of gender mainstreaming. And if you look here, I've used an illustrative photo of an eye because mainstreaming means you are trying to see how balanced the status of men and women in terms of their needs have been checked on. I'll be using men and women to represent gender in this discussion, but understand that also as you discuss gender mainstreaming, we need to pull in the aspect of what we call intersectionality. That is, appreciating the different ways of how people practice their gender without constantly sticking to what we call gender binary, because with gender binary, that does not fully represent what gender stands for. So gender may not be binary, that is men or women, but it will comprehend or it will comprise with gender mainstreaming, understanding it first, we need to gender practices that reveal the different sexualities and myths says that gender mainstreaming favors women over men. This is not really true because gender mainstreaming is not about women, but it's about looking into the concerns of both men and women, ensuring that we have practiced equality in all of these aspects, ensuring that our projects are looking into the needs of men and the project are also looking into the needs of women without discriminating any of them. Then the other assumption that public or people might have on gender mainstreaming is that why are we promoting gender mainstreaming yet men and women are already equal? Yes, as much as the Sustainable Development Goal urges us to work towards ensuring gender equality, we need to really be conversant that gender equality has not yet been achieved yet. And because of this, equality is yet to be achieved in major indicators, and some of these includes indicators like health, education, employment, and even political participation. Therefore, it is still very important that we practice gender mainstreaming, look into balancing the needs and the intervention that are going to look into provision of all the needs and the issues affecting both men and women. And the other bit is that gender mainstreaming is applicable only for policies related to women only and women issues. Yes, gender mainstreaming true, but it looks into policies, but it does not just look into policies affecting women only. It looks into policies and how it affects the outcomes of both men and women in our society. Rather, we say this looks into both issues of men and women, including policies that are looking into gender issues. So let's begin and see where the gender mainstreaming begins from. So looking at the international framework, specifically the United Nations International Human Rights Declaration, or what we call Covenant, it's being stated that all human beings are born free and equal in terms of dignity and rights. Therefore, as human beings, we are all equal in terms of our freedom and in terms of our dignity and rights. It is therefore fair enough that we all work towards ensuring equality and equity in the state of how we practice the different lifestyles in our daily to day activities, be it at a national level, at an organizational level, or even at the local level. And these are the different aspects that the gender mainstreaming concept looks into. How are these different aspects affecting the equality or the freedom or the dignity or the rights of men and women? And so with gender mainstreaming, we're going to introduce different concepts and how they're looking into the different aspects of gender mainstreaming pertaining to needs and aspects affecting men and women in our society. So the first concept is formal equality. So formal equality is one of the aspects that is said to view men and women as equal or as similar. So to this, they treat both of them the same. So what this approach does, equality to them is defined as the right to be equal to men. So they equate women to men, which may not be true because if you look at the balance here, we have a man and we have a woman. And in the formal equality, we are using an aspect whereby we are saying men and women are all equal regardless of any biological or gender differences existing between them. So it assumes that the men and the women are the same, and the goal of this formal equality is to treat them the same caliber without putting into consideration any pre-existing differences. So the goal of formal equality as a concept is to actually achieve merely equal treatment, where we say if you're in a work environment, then you're going to pay both men and women same salary. That's a formal equality. If we are maybe in a board sitting, we say here in this board representation or in the board of management representation, we're going to do 50-50 because men and women are equal and so they can both offer the same leadership as skills, and so we give 50-50. So the aspect of formal equality is to simply achieve equal treatment and equal representation when it comes to men and women. However, we are being told that this formal equality has some pros and cons, and one of the advantages is that it gives equal treatment to men and women, more so in the economic empowerment, where we wish women to be paid more and equal to men, where we're looking at men having equal opportunity in different economic aspects compared to also our women. But now the cons and the other bits is that it does not take into account any biological differences that maybe men and women could have. For example, with equal pay and economic setups, we realize that women also have challenges, for example, motherhood, parenthood, that sometimes affect their outcome when it comes to projects. Sometimes the formal equality may not look into this and may actually burden more on the woman compared to the men. So that's what formal equality does. The main target is to treat the two genders equal without looking into any pre-existing gender differences. Second concept of gender mainstreaming is what we call protectionism. So with protectionism, what it does is it views men and women as different, and so they treat them differently. This sounds very nice because it looks like the agenda of protectionism concept is to look at men and women as two different genders with two different needs, and therefore we're going to treat them differently. The assumption is based on the different differences that the two genders have. However, the purpose is to protect the women, where we are saying women therefore need to be protected because these two genders are different. The bad side of it, or the cons of the protectionism, is that it seeks, however, to curtail or curb women's activities of freedom with the rationale that the aim is to protect this woman from harm or wrongdoing. And the other bit is that protectionism does not challenge gender discrimination. The bad side is it takes to reproduce it with the disguise that it's going to protect the woman. For example, we can say that it is dangerous at night for a woman to walk alone. Now, protectionism will not take that as a social challenge. Rather, they will say because it is dangerous for ladies to walk alone at night, then they will tell ladies don't walk at night or don't walk beyond this particular period of time. Let's say 5 p.m. or 4 p.m. Now, professionalism is not going to look at it broadly and say, let's install, let's say, street lights or let light our pathways to avoid all these insecurities in our areas. It's rather going to limit the woman more and maybe tell them, don't come to work beyond this period or don't come because this and this will happen to you. So with the cons of professionalism, it's being said that it does not attack the problem. It basically attacks the woman in the name of we are going to keep you safe. So the agenda is, can we help you be safe, but please don't do these things. Instead of saying, okay, for you to keep you safe, we are going to eliminate these limitations that are making you not to be protected. So protectionism works on keeping the lady safe or the women safe with the target of limiting part of their freedom. So it does not give them freedom per se. It only works or uses the discrimination tag to reproduce protection disguise on the ladies or the women. And the other concept is what we talk now, substantive equality. So the substantive equality is the one that we call equity. So what equity does, it looks into the differences that exist between men and women in their lives and how they experience them and the different negative effects that it has in their lives, and then it works on minimizing these effects. So substantive equality is the more of like the opposite of protectionism. So what it does is it looks into the differences that men and women experiences, and it looks at the experiences they have and the negative effect it has not only on their outputs, not only also on the outcomes, but it looks at these differences and then looks at how can we ensure effective outcomes between men and women. So what substantive equality will do, it will promote equality of outcomes, and the aim is to accommodate both men and women. So it's not going to discriminate on any gender, but rather they're going to put them at equal par and try to provide mechanism to ensure that both of them are able to achieve their outcomes to the maximum. So I hope you get the difference. So what are the assumptions that substantive equality does? So there are a few assumptions that substantive equality is based on, and one of it includes this. It assumes that substantive equality comes in as a corrective approach. It's a corrective approach in the sense that it is going to correct the aspect of formal equality. It's going to correct the aspect of protectionism. that with substantive equality, we are going to consider the differences that the men and women experience, and we are going to help them all independently to ensure that each and every person has maximally taken charge of their lives and their needs and their issues have been met. Substantive equality also ensures that there is equal treatment that can it says that equal treatment reinforces more on inequality, that you can't treat people equally because both of them have different challenges, have different needs. Therefore, as you try to treat people, you need to treat them with equality in mind, but looking at what are their substantial needs and issues that should be looked at by putting in mind all the key areas that have to be handled without affecting their outcomes. And then the other bit it says is that discrimination and inequalities are all social constructs, and thus these are things that can be affected or can be changed or can be moderated and accommodated based on how they behave. And the other bit is substantive equality requires proactiveness, that for you to achieve equality or the substantive equality, you need to have proactive measures that are very active, looks into the issues keenly, either through research, desk reviews, consultations, for you to have a good approach that can effectively meet the needs of both genders. And substantive equality promotes equality of opportunity, access, and is result oriented. So that's the positive side of substantive equality. It looks into the needs of both men and women and ensures that it has met its needs, it has met its issues, and the gender gaps have been reduced or has been eliminated. So thank you so much for staying with us. Those have been a short session pertaining to the concepts of gender mainstreaming, where we looked at the formal equality, we looked at protectionism, and we've looked finally at the substantive equality. These are huge concepts that are going to guide us through our gender mainstreaming class. So stay with me and don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this also in your network so that we can pull up on our memberships. Thank you so much and see you in our next sessions. Bye bye.